The chamber dismissed it as a minor incident. One human girl, one moment of cruelty. But Earth saw it as a line crossed. No speeches followed. No negotiations were offered. Just one warning sent across the stars, simple, final, and terrifying. Run. The incident Emma Rodriguez had always loved the stars. At 14 years old, she considered herself lucky to live aboard Celestial Haven, the largest diplomatic station in known space. Her mother, Dr. Sofia Rodriguez, served as Earth's chief trade representative, negotiating contracts and agreements that brought prosperity to humanity's growing colonies. Emma had grown up among aliens, learned their languages, and walked corridors where beings from 50 different worlds conducted their daily business. The Consortium Council governed this section of the galaxy. 12 powerful species held seats on the council, making decisions that affected billions of lives. Earth had joined the Consortium only 20 years ago, making humanity the newest and least influential member. The other species treated humans with polite indifference at best and barely concealed contempt at worst. They saw Earth as primitive, weak, and insignificant. Emma had learned to ignore the dismissive glances and condescending remarks. She focused on her studies, her friends, and her dreams of one day becoming a xenobiologist. She wanted to understand the incredible diversity of life that flourished across the stars. The diplomatic reception that evening was supposed to be boring. Emma's mother had insisted she attend, dressed in formal attire that made her feel awkward and uncomfortable. Dignitaries from across the consortium mingled in the grand hall, discussing trade quotas and mining rights. Emma stood near the refreshment table, counting the minutes until she could leave. Her mother was deep in conversation with a delegation from the Wheeler system, so Emma decided to explore. She had discovered long ago that the adults rarely noticed when she slipped away. The station had thousands of corridors, many leading to restricted areas that held far more interest than another speech about tariff regulations. She wandered into a service corridor she had never explored before. The lights here were dimmer, the air cooler. Her curiosity pulled her forward. She heard voices ahead, speaking in the common trade language that all consortium species used. Emma recognized one voice immediately. Thrachter, the council member from the Zokran hegemony. The Zokran were a reptilian species known for their ruthless business practices and aggressive territorial expansion. Thrachter stood nearly 3 meters tall, covered in dark green scales that seemed to absorb light. His eyes glowed amber in the dim corridor, and his clawed hands gestured as he spoke. Emma had seen him before at official functions. He frightened her, though she had never understood why until this moment. She pressed herself against the wall and peered around the corner. Thrachter stood with 2 of his guards in a storage chamber. A holographic display showed advanced weapons that Emma recognized from her studies. Plasma accelerators, quantum disruptors, biological agents. All banned by consortium law. The hologram showed another being, a species Emma did not recognize. The creature discussed shipping routes, payment transfers, and delivery schedules. This was not a diplomatic meeting. This was a weapons deal. Thrachter was trafficking illegal arms to unknown buyers. Emma's heart hammered in her chest. She needed to leave. She needed to tell someone. She took one careful step backward. Her foot caught on a loose panel. The sound was small, barely a scrape of metal on metal. In the quiet corridor, it echoed like thunder. Thracher's head snapped toward her hiding place. His eyes locked onto hers. For one frozen moment, they stared at each other. Emma saw chelation in those amber eyes, cold and merciless. She ran. She made it 5 steps before the guards caught her. Massive clawed hands seized her arms, lifting her off the ground. She screamed, but the corridor was soundproofed. No one would hear her. Thrachter approached slowly. His voice was calm, almost gentle. He spoke in perfect English, each word carefully pronounced. He told her she had seen something she should not have seen. He told her this was unfortunate. He asked his guards what should be done about unfortunate situations. Emma struggled, pleading with them to let her go. She promised she would say nothing. She was just a child. She meant no harm. Thrichter tilted his head, considering. Then he gave a simple order. Silence her. Make it appear accidental. Human children were fragile. These things happened. The beating was methodical and brutal. The guards knew exactly how to inflict maximum damage. They broke her left arm in 3 places. They fractured her skull. They shattered 4 ribs and punctured her lung. They ruptured her spleen and damaged her spine. When they finished, Emma lay motionless on the cold metal floor, blood pooling around her small body. Thrichter looked down at her without emotion. He told his guards to leave her. Someone would find the body eventually. It would be ruled an accident, a tragic fall. These things happened to careless children. They walked away and left her dying in the darkness. Emma was found 6 hours later by a maintenance worker who noticed the blood trail. By then, her heart had stopped twice. Emergency medical teams rushed her to the station's hospital. Human doctors worked desperately to save her life. They succeeded. Barely. Dr. Sofia Rodriguez stood beside her daughter's bed and watched machines breathe for her. Emma's face was swollen beyond recognition. Tubes and wires covered her small body. The doctors said she might survive. They could not promise she would walk again. They could not promise she would wake up. Sophia's hands shook as she accessed the security footage. She watched the entire incident unfold. She watched Thrichter order the attack. She watched the guards beat her daughter until she stopped moving. She watched them leave Emma to die. She filed an official complaint with the Consortium Council. She demanded immediate arrest and prosecution. She provided the security footage as evidence. The council reviewed her complaint in a closed session. Their response came 48 hours later. The footage had been corrupted and was inadmissible as evidence. Medical scans showed injuries consistent with a fall. There was no proof of wrongdoing. The matter was closed. Thrichter sent his condolences. He hoped the human child would recover. He suggested that Dr. Rodriguez should supervise her daughter more carefully in the future. Sophia stood in the hospital room and stared at the communication tablet displaying the council's dismissal. Her daughter lay broken and unconscious. The being responsible walked free. The council had decided that human lives did not matter enough to pursue justice. She sent one message to Earth. It contained everything. The original footage she had secretly copied. Medical reports, witness statements from the maintenance worker who found Emma, and the council's official refusal to investigate. Her message was simple. Our daughter was harmed. The council refuses justice. Please respond. The message traveled through quantum communication channels and reached Earth in seconds. It was routed to a specific facility buried deep beneath the Appalachian Mountains. A facility that officially did not exist. A facility that had been preparing for this exact scenario since the day humanity joined the consortium. Admiral Marcus Chun received the message in his command center. He was 68 years old with gray hair and eyes that had witnessed horrors during the resource wars that nearly destroyed Earth. He read the entire report in silence. He watched the security footage 3 times. He studied the images of Emma Rodriguez lying broken in a hospital bed. Then he made a single phone call. The call went to 13 different locations scattered across human space. Hid in shipyards and asteroid fields. Research stations on remote moons. Weapons facilities that had been maintained in absolute secrecy for 2 decades. Admiral Chen spoke 6 words. The words humanity had hoped they would never need to say. The words that would change the galaxy forever. He said, wake them all. It is time. Across human space, engines that had been dormant for years began warming up. Weapons systems came online. Crews who had trained in absolute secrecy reported to their stations. Ships emerged from hiding places where they had waited patiently for 20 years. The consortium thought humanity was weak. The consortium thought humanity was primitive. The consortium was about to learn how wrong they were. Humanity had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of warfare. They had nearly destroyed themselves, learning every possible way to kill. They had hoped they would never need those skills again. They had hoped wrong. Emma Rodriguez lay unconscious, unaware that her suffering had just ignited a fire that would burn across the stars. Reckoning. The Consortium Council was in session when the alarms began. 12 ambassadors sat in their designated seats within the Grand Chamber, a circular room with walls of transparent crystal that offered views of the stars beyond. They were debating agricultural subsidies for Outer Rim colonies. Tedious, but necessary work that kept the galactic economy functioning smoothly. Council member Thrichter sat in his elevated position, his scaled face showing mild boredom. The incident with the human child was forgotten. His weapons deals continued uninterrupted. Life proceeded as normal for those who held power in the consortium. The warning sirens changed everything. Every display screen in the chamber turned crimson. The station's tactical officer appeared on the main view screen, his face pale with fear. A vessel had emerged from faster-than-light travel at the system's outer boundary. The ship was massive, beyond anything in consortium records. Initial scans showed it measuring over 50 kilometers in length. Built from materials the sensors could not properly identify. The ship was human. Thrichter laughed, a rasping sound that echoed through the chamber. Impossible. Humanity possessed perhaps 30 warships. Small vessels used for patrol duties and pirate suppression. They had no capital ships, no dreadnoughts, certainly nothing of this scale. The sensors were malfunctioning or someone was broadcasting. A false image. The tactical officer insisted the readings were accurate. The vessel was real, solid, and heading directly toward Celestial Haven at sublight speeds. It was broadcasting no identification codes and responding to no hail attempts. It simply advanced with terrible purpose. The council demanded visual confirmation. When the image appeared on the view screen, the chamber fell silent. The ship looked nothing like the sleek, elegant vessels other species constructed. It was angular and brutal, covered in armor plating that seemed designed to absorb punishment. Weapons bristled from every surface, hundreds of them, maybe thousands. The vessel looked like something built for one purpose only, destroying everything in its path. Communication requests came through. The council accepted, curious about what these upstart humans thought they were doing. The face that appeared on screen made several council members shift uncomfortably in their seats. Cantinenio Rivera stood on his bridge wearing a uniform of deep black with silver insignia. He was 42 years old with sharp features and eyes that burned with controlled fury. Behind him, the bridge of his ship hummed with activity as crew members worked at stations. Displaying tactical information in multiple languages. He introduced himself as Commander of the United Earth. Warship Retribution. He stated he was speaking on behalf of humanity and the government of Earth. He had a message for the Consortium Council. Thrichter interrupted, demanding to know how humans had constructed such a vessel without council knowledge or approval. He demanded to know why a warship had entered Consortium space without permission. He demanded immediate explanations. Captain Rivera waited until the council member finished speaking. Then he continued as though the interruption had never occurred. 6 days ago, he stated, Council member Thrichter of the Zokran Hegemony ordered an assault on Emma Rodriguez, a 14-year-old human child. She was beaten until her bones shattered. She was left to die in a maintenance corridor. The council had been presented with evidence of this crime. The council had refused to pursue justice. Humanity was not here to negotiate. Humanity was not here to plead for fairness. Humanity was here to deliver consequences. The council had 24 hours to surrender. Thrichter and every individual who participated in the attack on Emma Rodriguez. If they complied, those individuals would face trial under a neutral tribunal. If they refused, humanity would come and take them by force. Any vessel, station, or world that attempted to interfere would discover why humans had spent their entire history fighting wars. Captain Rivera paused, his gaze sweeping across the council members. He explained that humans had practiced warfare for 10,000 years before reaching the stars. They had developed weapons of horrifying efficiency. They had perfected strategies of total war that would make even the most aggressive species recoil in horror. They had hoped they would never need to demonstrate those capabilities. The council had given them no choice. This was humanity's only warning. Surrender the guilty or face the consequences. The decision was theirs. The transmission ended. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Some ambassadors demanded immediate military response. Others urged caution, suggesting negotiation. Thrachter stood and declared this was intolerable. One ship, regardless of size, could not threaten the combined might of 12 species. He demanded the council authorize force. The vote was taken. 10 species voted to engage. Only 2 abstained, including Earth's representative, who had been informed to remain silent and observe. The consortium fleet was mobilized. Admiral Kresh of the Voltorian Navy assumed command. He assembled a battle group of 800 warships, cruisers, destroyers, and carriers loaded with strike fighters. It was overwhelming force, more than sufficient to reduce a planet to ash. Certainly more than enough to deal with a single human vessel. The fleet launched within 3 hours, moving into formation as they accelerated toward the Retribution. Admiral Kresh felt confident. This would be quick, decisive, and instructive. The humans would learn their place in the Galactic Order. On Earth, in the hidden command facility, Admiral Cheen watched tactical displays showing the approaching consortium fleet. An aide asked if they should recall Captain Rivera, suggest he withdraw before the engagement began. They could still avoid open war. Admiral Chen shook his head. He had watched the footage of Emma Rodriguez being beaten by Thrachter's guards 17 times. He had read her medical reports. He had spoken with her mother, heard the desperation and grief in Dr. Rodriguez's voice. He gave the order. All ships were to proceed as planned. Humanity was committed. There would be no retreat. In space, the consortium fleet approached the Retribution in standard attack formation. Admiral Kresh opened communication channels and demanded the human vessel's immediate surrender. Captain Rivera did not respond. The fleet opened fire. 800 ships unleashed their weapons simultaneously. Energy beams and plasma bolts and kinetic projectiles filled the void, all converging on a massive human vessel. It was enough destructive power to vaporize an asteroid belt. The Retribution absorbed the barrage. Its shields flared brilliant white as they deflected incoming fire. Its armor glowed red-hot in places where shots penetrated the defensive screens. But when the assault ended, the ship remained intact and functional. Admiral Kresh stared at his tactical displays in disbelief. That was impossible. Nothing could withstand such concentrated firepower. Retribution returned fire. Human weapons operated on different principles than consortium technology. While other species had developed refined energy weapons that killed efficiently, humans had perfected the art of maximum destruction. Magnetic accelerators launched depleted uranium rounds at relativistic speeds. Each impact released energy equivalent to a nuclear detonation. Missile swarms filled space with thousands of independently targeting warheads that overwhelmed point defense systems. Directed energy weapons didn't just pierce shields. They cooked ships from the inside out, turning crew members into ash. The first volley destroyed 200 ships. The second volley destroyed 300 more. The consortium fleet attempted to scatter, to break formation and retreat. The Retribution would not allow it. The human warship moved with impossible speed for something so massive. Its targeting systems tracked every fleeing vessel with computer precision. Its weapons fired with mechanical efficiency. Every shot found its mark. The battle lasted 14 minutes. When it ended, 800 consortium warships had been reduced to debris and expanding clouds of vaporized metal. Admiral Kresh was dead. His flagship had been among the first casualties. The Retribution had taken damage. Sections of its hull were breached. 3 of its weapon batteries were offline. But it remained operational and capable of continued engagement. Captain Rivera opened a communication channel to Celestial Haven. His face appeared on every screen throughout the station. His expression was unchanged, still calm and cold. Thrachter had 12 hours to surrender. If he refused, human marines would board the station and extract him by force. Any being who interfered would be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. He hoped. Council had learned something from the previous 14 minutes. He hoped they understood that humanity's patience was exhausted. The transmission ended. Throughout Celestial Haven, panic spread like wildfire. Civilians rushed toward escape pods and docking bays, desperate to flee before the humans arrived. Station security forces abandoned their posts. Even council members began quietly, arranging private transportation off the station. Richter retreated to his personal quarters in the Zokran sector. He sealed the reinforced doors and activated every security system available. 200 guards surrounded his location, the finest warriors the hegemony could provide. He told himself he was safe. The humans were bluffing. They would not dare assault the station and risk civilian casualties. He was wrong. When the 12 hours expired, 20 human assault ships detached from the Retribution and moved toward Celestial Haven. Each ship carried 500 Marines in full combat armor. The armor was heavy, bulky, and covered with weapons. It looked primitive compared to the elegant exosuits other species used. It was designed for one purpose: overwhelming violence. The assault ships attached themselves to the station's hull like parasites. Cutting tools burned through reinforced metal in seconds. Marines poured through the breaches in tight formations, their weapons raised and active. Station security attempted to mount a defense. They failed. Human combat doctrine was fundamentally different from consortium warfare. Other species announced themselves, issued warnings, and followed established rules of engagement. Humans did none of these things. A Voltorian security team established a defensive position in a main corridor. They had cover, superior numbers, and prepared firing lanes. The humans threw flashbang grenades first, blinding and disorienting the defenders. Then they advanced through the chaos with thermal imaging active, shooting with mechanical precision. The entire engagement lasted 40 seconds. Every Voltorian was dead or incapacitated. The Marines stepped over the bodies and continued advancing. Lieutenant Sarah Chen led her squad toward the Zokran sector. She was 31 years old, career military, and had volunteered immediately when the mission parameters were announced. She had a nephew Emma's age. The thought of what had been done to that child made something cold in her settle in her chest. Her squad reached the entrance to Thraktor's sanctuary. The doors were reinforced durasteel, designed to withstand ship weapons. Chun ordered her team to deploy breaching charges. The explosives were human-made, more powerful than anything in consortium arsenals. The doors exploded inward. Beyond them, 200 Zokran warriors waited with weapons ready. They opened fire immediately, filling the corridor with plasma bolts and particle beams. Chen's squad took cover and returned fire with disciplined efficiency. The battle was brutal and close range. Zokran warriors were larger and physically stronger than humans. But humans fought with tactical precision learned through centuries of warfare. They used grenades to flush enemies from cover. They coordinated overlapping fields of fire. They exploited every weakness in the enemy's formation. The fight lasted 11 minutes. When it ended, 174 Zokran lay dead. Chun had lost 6 Marines. She would remember their names for the rest of her life. She advanced into Thraktor's chamber. The council member stood alone at the room's far end, his amber eyes wide with something that might have been fear. Chun approached slowly, her weapon steady. She informed him he was under arrest for crimes against humanity. He would face trial for ordering the assault on Emma Rodriguez. Thraktor tried to speak, tried to assert his diplomatic immunity and council status. Chun interrupted him. She told him that immunity ended the moment he decided a child's life meant nothing. She placed him in restraints and led him from his sanctuary. Throughout the station, other Marine teams secured their targets. The guards who had beaten Emma were captured. The tactical officer who had erased the security footage was found hiding in a storage locker. Within 6 hours, every individual connected to the attack was in custody. Captain Rivera received confirmation and transmitted a message to the council. Mission complete. The guilty would face justice. Humanity would now discuss terms for a new relationship with the consortium. one based on actual equality and respect rather than dismissive tolerance. The council had no choice but to accept. Their fleet was destroyed. Their station was occupied. Their certainty of superiority had been shattered in 14 minutes of brutal combat. 3 weeks later, representatives from 100 species gathered on neutral ground for the trial. The judges were not human. Earth had insisted on this. Humanity would provide security and enforce the verdict, but they would not sit in judgment. The judges represented species that had suffered under council indifference for generations. They understood what it meant to be powerless. They understood what it meant to watch the strong exploit the weak. While those in authority looked away, the evidence was presented. The recovered security footage played on screens for everyone to see. Medical experts detailed Emma's injuries. The maintenance worker who found her described the scene. Thrachter offered no defense. He sat in silence throughout the proceedings. His scaled face expressionless. On the final day, something unexpected occurred. A holographic communication was requested from Earth. The tribunal agreed to allow it. Emma Rodriguez appeared above the courtroom floor. She was still in her hospital bed, surrounded by medical equipment. Bandages covered portions of her head. Her left arm remained in a cast, but her eyes were clear and focused. She spoke in a voice that was quiet but steady. She told the tribunal she had asked to testify. Her mother had agreed. She looked directly at Thrachter. She told him she remembered everything. The fear, the pain, the cold floor, the certainty that she was going to die alone in that corridor. She told him about the nightmares that still came every night, about the surgery she would need for years, about the permanent nerve, damage that meant she might never regain full use of her left hand. She told him he had taken something from her that could never be returned. The courtroom was absolutely silent. Then Emma spoke again. She said she knew everyone expected her to demand his death. Humans were supposed to be vengeful and violent. That was what the galaxy believed, but she did not want him to die. She wanted him to live a very long time. She wanted him to watch everything he had built collapse. She wanted him to know that he had lost everything because he believed one human child did not matter. She said every being in the galaxy mattered. Weak or strong, powerful or powerless, everyone deserved justice. She told the judges to do what they believed was right. She trusted them to be better than the council had been. The hologram faded. The tribunal deliberated for 4 hours. Their verdict was unanimous. Guilty on all charges. The sentence was life imprisonment and a rehabilitation facility on a moon whose population consisted entirely of species the Zokran had once enslaved. Thrachter would live among those he had considered beneath him. He would work alongside them. He would learn to see them as equals. It was not revenge. It was justice. Whether he found redemption was his choice. As Thrachter was led away, Dr. Sofia Rodriguez stood in the courtroom gallery and allowed herself to cry for the first time since finding her daughter broken and bleeding. They were not tears of sadness. They were tears of relief. Emma would recover. The galaxy would change. And humanity had proven that protecting the innocent was worth any cost. 5 years later, Emma Rodriguez walked the corridors of the new Galactic Justice Assembly as a junior diplomat. She was 19 years old, studying xenopolitical science, and working to reform the systems that had allowed her suffering. Her left hand still had limited mobility. She would carry scars for the rest of her life, but she had turned her pain into purpose. The galaxy had hurt her once. She would spend the rest of her life making sure it never hurt anyone that way again. And somewhere in the dark between stars, human warships patrolled in silence, watching, waiting, ready to remind the galaxy of a simple truth. Harm the innocent, and humanity will come, not for conquest, not for revenge, for justice. Always for justice.